Imagine this. One day, you wake up and you realize you've spent years trying to become someone's favorite person. You changed your habits, you changed your words, you stayed quiet when you wanted to speak, you gave people second chances, third chances, even 10th chances. But one morning, you stand in front of the mirror, and suddenly you don't recognize the person looking back at you. If that sentence made your heart feel a little heavy, stay with me, because today's episode might change the way you see yourself forever. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to Learn English with Ramya. If you're someone who wants to speak advanced English naturally while also growing emotionally, you're in the right place. Today's podcast is not just an English lesson. It's a conversation your heart has probably been waiting to hear. So take a deep breath, relax, and let's begin. There is one relationship that begins before every friendship, before every love story, before every achievement, before every heartbreak. It is the relationship you have with yourself. Yet somehow, it becomes the relationship we ignore the most. From childhood, we're taught how to be kind to others, share your toys, respect everyone, help people, forgive them, support them, love them. All of those lessons are beautiful, but there is one lesson many of us never receive. No one sits us down and says, "Please don't forget to love yourself too." Instead, many people grow up believing that loving themselves is selfish, that putting themselves first is rude, that saying no makes them a bad person, that resting means they're lazy, that celebrating themselves is arrogant. Isn't it strange? We apologize for things we never needed to apologize for. We feel guilty for protecting our peace. We explain ourselves even when we don't owe anyone an explanation. Little by little, we begin shrinking ourselves to make everyone else comfortable. And one day, we wonder why we're exhausted. The answer is simple, because you've been carrying everyone else's emotional luggage while leaving your own heart completely unattended. Imagine owning the most beautiful garden in the world. Every morning, instead of watering your own flowers, you walk into every neighbor's garden. You remove their weeds, you water their plants, you decorate their paths. You spend hours making everything beautiful. Then you return home, only to discover that your own garden has become dry, empty, and full of weeds. Would you blame the flowers? Of course not. They simply needed attention. Your heart works exactly the same way. It cannot bloom if you never care for it. Self-love isn't about becoming better than other people. It's about refusing to abandon yourself. Read that again in your mind. Refusing to abandon yourself. Because the truth is, many people don't lose themselves overnight. They lose themselves one tiny compromise at a time. They laugh at jokes that hurt them. They stay in conversations that drain them. They remain in relationships where they feel invisible. They chase approval that never arrives. They keep proving their worth to people who already decided not to see it. And that's one of the most painful ways to live, not because people reject you, but because you begin rejecting yourself. Have you ever noticed how gentle you are with someone you love? When they're tired, you tell them to rest. When they make mistakes, you comfort them. When they cry, you listen patiently. Now ask yourself something. When you are tired, do you allow yourself to rest? When you fail, do you comfort yourself? When you cry, do you listen to your own emotions, or do you silence them? Sometimes we become the harshest person in our own life, not our parents, not strangers, not society, ourselves. We look in the mirror and immediately notice flaws. We compare ourselves with people online. We criticize our appearance, our intelligence, our success, our personality, as if perfection is the price we must pay to deserve love. But here's something I hope you never forget. You were never supposed to earn your worth. You were born with it. Success doesn't create your value. Beauty doesn't create your value. Money doesn't create your value. Other people's opinions certainly don't create your value. Your value exists, even on your worst day. Think about a child learning to walk. The child falls, again, and again, and again. Does anyone stand nearby and say, You're a failure? Stop trying. No. Everyone smiles, everyone claps, everyone encourages them, because falling is expected while learning. So why, as adults, do we expect ourselves to be perfect on the very first attempt? We forget that growth has always looked messy. The strongest trees once looked like tiny seeds. The brightest stars are born inside darkness. The most confident people you admire today were once deeply uncertain. Confidence didn't arrive first. Action did. Healing didn't begin after they became perfect. Healing began the moment they decided they deserved peace. And maybe, just maybe, today is that moment for you.
There is something incredibly dangerous about waiting for other people to tell you who you are. Because the moment your identity depends on someone else's opinion, your happiness becomes something they can take away. Have you ever noticed how one compliment can brighten your entire day, but one criticism can make you question everything about yourself? Why does that happen? Because many of us unknowingly hand over the keys to our self-worth. We let strangers decide whether we're attractive enough. We let social media decide whether we're successful enough. We let family expectations decide whether we're good enough. And then we wonder why we constantly feel anxious. The truth is, when your confidence is rented from other people, it can be taken back at any moment. Real confidence is different. It doesn't shout. It doesn't compete. It doesn't need constant applause. It quietly whispers, "I know who I am." That sentence may sound simple, but reaching that place requires courage. Because before you can truly love yourself, you must first meet yourself. Not the version that smiles to keep everyone comfortable. Not the version that pretends to be okay. Not the version that is carefully edited for the internet. The real you. The one who has dreams. The one who carries old scars. The one who laughs loudly. The one who cries when nobody is watching. That person deserves your attention. Not someday. Today. Many people spend years trying to discover their purpose, while avoiding the person they're living with every single day. Themselves. Imagine meeting your own soul for the very first time. What questions would you ask? What dreams have you been hiding? What makes you feel alive? What kind of life makes your heart feel peaceful instead of simply busy? Those questions matter, because a meaningful life isn't built by impressing people. It's built by understanding yourself. One of the greatest forms of self-love is honesty. Not the honesty you give to others, the honesty you give to yourself. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you're pretending to be strong. Maybe you've outgrown a friendship. Maybe you're staying in places that no longer feel like home. Maybe you've been saying, "I'm fine," for far too long. Healing begins the moment you stop lying to your own heart. That doesn't mean life suddenly becomes easy. It means life finally becomes real. And real things can actually be healed. Here's something I've learned. The people who love themselves the most are not people who never make mistakes. They're people who forgive themselves after making them. Think about that. Forgiveness is one of the greatest gifts you can ever give yourself. Yet somehow, it's often the last gift we offer. We replay old conversations. We remember embarrassing moments from years ago. We punish ourselves for choices made with the knowledge we had back then. But how can you expect an older version of yourself to have the wisdom you only gained later? You were learning. You were surviving. You were doing your best with what you knew. And that's enough. You are allowed to become someone new. You are allowed to outgrow old habits. You are allowed to change your opinions. You are allowed to choose peace over proving a point. Growth isn't betrayal. It's evolution. A butterfly doesn't apologize for leaving behind its cocoon. It simply becomes what it was always meant to be. Maybe it's time you stopped apologizing for your own transformation too. There will always be people who only liked the version of you that stayed quiet, the version that never said no, the version that always sacrificed, the version that carried everyone's problems. But remember this, someone else's disappointment does not automatically mean you've done something wrong. Sometimes, people become uncomfortable the moment you begin respecting yourself. And that's okay. Healthy boundaries often reveal unhealthy expectations. Boundaries are not walls built to keep love out. They are doors that allow the right people to enter and keep emotional chaos outside. Every time you say, "I don't deserve to be treated this way," you are teaching your heart that it matters. Every time you choose rest instead of burnout, you are honoring your well-being. Every time you refuse to shrink yourself to fit into someone else's expectations, you become a little freer. Freedom doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like deleting a message you never needed to send. Sometimes it looks like leaving a conversation peacefully. Sometimes it looks like staying home without feeling guilty. Sometimes it looks like sitting alone with a cup of tea and realizing your own company finally feels comforting. There is extraordinary beauty in enjoying your own presence, because loneliness and solitude are not the same thing. Loneliness says, "I need someone to complete me." Solitude whispers, "I already belong to myself." And when you finally understand that difference, relationships become healthier. You stop begging to be chosen. You stop chasing people who keep running away. You stop confusing attention with love. Instead, you begin choosing connections that feel safe, kind, respectful, and peaceful. Because the greatest love story you'll ever experience isn't the one where someone finally chooses you. It's the one where after years of searching everywhere else, you finally choose yourself.
Have you ever looked back at an old version of yourself and quietly whispered, "I wish I could hug you"? Not because that version of you was weak, but because they were carrying so much without anyone truly noticing. Maybe they smiled while hiding heartbreak. Maybe they kept saying yes because they were afraid of being abandoned. Maybe they believed they had to earn love by constantly giving more of themselves. If that's true, I want you to know something today. That version of you deserves compassion, not criticism. We often judge our past selves through the wisdom we have today, but wisdom is always born after experience. You couldn't have known then what you know now, and that's okay. Every chapter of your life, even the painful ones, was quietly preparing you to become the person you are today. Sometimes people ask, what if I wasted years of my life? I like to answer with another question. What if those years were not wasted, but invested? Invested in learning, invested in becoming wiser, invested in discovering what you will never tolerate again. Pain has a strange way of becoming a teacher, not because pain is beautiful, but because growth often begins where comfort ends. The strongest people are rarely those who never fell apart. They are the ones who learned how to rebuild themselves, piece by piece, without giving up. And rebuilding yourself is one of the greatest acts of self-love. There is something powerful about starting over. People often fear the words, "begin again." They imagine failure, but nature tells a different story. Every sunrise is another beginning. Every season changes without asking permission. Trees lose every single leaf, yet they never believe their story is over. They simply wait, trust, and bloom again. Maybe you are in your winter season right now. Life feels quiet. Progress feels invisible. Nothing seems to be happening. But don't confuse stillness with failure. Roots grow in silence. The most important transformations often happen where nobody can see them. Your healing may not be visible today, but that doesn't mean it isn't happening. Every healthy decision matters. Every kind word you speak to yourself matters. Every boundary you protect matters. Every moment you choose peace over chaos matters. Little by little, those small choices become a completely different life. Many people are waiting for one huge moment that changes everything. A dream job, a perfect relationship, a life-changing opportunity. But real transformation usually arrives quietly. It begins the morning you stop insulting yourself in the mirror. It begins the day you stop comparing your journey to someone else's highlight reel. It begins when you forgive yourself for being human. Comparison is one of the fastest ways to lose gratitude. Someone will always have more money. Someone will always look different. Someone will always seem more successful. If your happiness depends on being better than everyone else, you'll spend your whole life chasing a finish line that keeps moving. Instead, compare yourself to the person you were yesterday. Are you a little kinder, a little calmer, a little braver, a little wiser? If the answer is yes, you're already moving forward. Remember, flowers don't compete with other flowers. A rose never tries to become a sunflower. The moon never apologizes because it isn't the sun. Each one shines in its own time, in its own way. So why do we expect ourselves to become someone we're not? Your uniqueness is not a weakness. It is your greatest strength. The world doesn't need another copy of someone else. It needs the version of you that isn't afraid to be authentic. That word, authentic, it means showing up as the person you truly are, even when pretending would be easier. Authenticity requires courage, because not everyone will understand you, not everyone will agree with you, and that's perfectly okay. You were never meant to be liked by everyone. You were meant to be honest with yourself. The people who truly belong in your life will never ask you to become smaller just to make them feel bigger. Real love celebrates your growth. Real friendship respects your boundaries. Real kindness never demands that you abandon yourself. So the next time you hear that little voice inside your mind saying, "You're not enough," pause. Take one slow breath and answer it with truth. I am learning, I am growing, I am healing, I am becoming. Those 4 sentences carry more power than you realize, because every time you replace self-criticism with self-respect, you strengthen the relationship that will last your entire lifetime, the relationship with yourself. One day, you'll look back at this version of yourself, the one who was trying, the one who was healing, the one who kept moving forward despite uncertainty, and instead of feeling regret, you'll feel pride, not because you became perfect, but because you refused to give up on yourself. And perhaps that is what self-love has always meant, not believing you're flawless, but choosing to stand beside yourself through every imperfect chapter of your life.
There comes a moment in almost everyone's life when they stop asking, "Why doesn't anyone love me enough?" and start asking a much more powerful question. Have I been loving myself the way I deserve? That single question can change everything. Because the truth is, many of us spend years searching for peace in places that were never meant to provide it. We search for it in relationships, in achievements, in compliments, in money, in popularity, in perfection. And while those things can bring happiness for a while, none of them can replace a peaceful relationship with yourself. Imagine carrying a cup with a tiny crack in it. Every time someone pours love into your cup, it slowly leaks away. No matter how much love people give you, you still feel empty. Why? Because the problem was never the amount of love you received. The problem was believing you were never worthy of keeping it. Self-love repairs that invisible crack. It teaches your heart to finally believe, I deserve kindness. I deserve respect. I deserve peace. Not because you've become perfect, but simply because you're human. One of the most beautiful things about loving yourself is that you stop living your life from a place of fear. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of disappointing people, fear of not being enough. Those fears don't disappear overnight, but they no longer become the author of your story. You begin making decisions based on love instead of fear, and that changes everything. Think about how many opportunities fear has stolen from people. Dreams left unfinished, conversations never spoken, businesses never started, books never written, songs never sung, love never expressed. Not because people weren't capable, but because fear convinced them they weren't. Fear is loud, but truth is stronger. Truth quietly reminds you that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's moving forward despite it. Every time you choose yourself, you become a little braver. Every time you forgive yourself, you become a little lighter. Every time you stop comparing your journey, you become a little freer. Those tiny moments may seem ordinary, but together, they create an extraordinary life. People often believe confidence suddenly appears one morning, as if they wake up, look in the mirror, and instantly love everything about themselves. Life doesn't work that way.
Confidence grows through promises you keep to yourself. You tell yourself you'll wake up early, and you do. You promise yourself you'll protect your peace, and you do. You say you'll stop speaking negatively about yourself, and little by little, you do. Each promise becomes another brick. Eventually, those bricks build unshakable trust, and trust is the foundation of confidence. The relationship you have with yourself is listening to everything you say. Every sentence matters. Imagine hearing these words every single day. I'm not smart enough. I'm ugly. I'll never succeed. Nobody truly loves me. If someone else spoke to you that way, you would probably walk away. So why stay in a conversation with your own mind that constantly hurts you? Instead, try something different. Not fake positivity, not pretending everything is perfect. Simply speak to yourself with honesty and kindness. Say, I'm doing my best today. I'm proud of how far I've come. I don't have everything figured out, and that's okay. Those words may feel unfamiliar at first, but healing often begins with unfamiliar habits. Never underestimate the power of your inner voice. It becomes the soundtrack of your life. Make sure it's a voice worth listening to. There is another lesson that self-love teaches us. Not everyone is meant to stay. Some people enter your life to teach you, some to inspire you, some to challenge you, and some to prepare you for better days. Holding on to everyone is not loyalty. Sometimes it's fear. Real growth requires knowing when to lovingly let go. Let go of the people who only appreciate you when you're useful. Let go of the guilt that belongs to someone else. Let go of impossible expectations. Let go of the version of yourself that constantly begged our acceptance. Because the moment you release what no longer serves you, you finally create space for what truly belongs. You are not losing your identity. You are returning to it. The happiest people aren't those who have perfect lives. They're the ones who have learned to stop fighting themselves. Imagine how peaceful life becomes when your own heart finally feels like home. No pretending, no constant pressure, no endless comparison. Just quiet confidence, quiet gratitude, quiet joy. And perhaps that is the greatest success anyone can achieve. Not becoming famous, not becoming wealthy, not becoming admired by millions, but becoming someone who can sit alone in complete silence, take one deep breath, smile gently, and honestly say, I like the person I'm becoming. That sentence is worth more than all the applause in the world.
Take a slow, deep breath. Now, for just a moment, forget what the world expects from you. Forget the deadlines, forget the comparisons, forget the opinions that have been living rent-free inside your mind. This moment belongs only to you. Close your eyes if you can. Imagine meeting your younger self, the little child who laughed without worrying about being judged, the child who believed every dream was possible, the child who didn't care about likes, followers, grades, salaries, or status. Just for a moment, look into their eyes. What would they ask you? Maybe, are we happy? Or perhaps, did we become the person we always hoped to be? You don't have to answer perfectly. Just answer honestly, because honesty is where healing begins. If your younger self saw everything you've survived, the sleepless nights, the silent battles, the disappointments no one knew about, they wouldn't call you weak. They would look at you with amazement. They would say, you kept going. And maybe that's exactly what you need to hear today. You kept going. Even when your heart was tired, even when nobody noticed your efforts, even when life didn't make sense, you kept going. And that deserves respect. Sometimes we become so focused on how far we still have to go that we completely forget how far we've already come. Take a moment to appreciate your journey. You're not the same person you were a year ago. You've learned, you've grown, you've cried, you've healed, you've made mistakes, you've started again. Every experience, even the painful ones, has quietly shaped the person you're becoming. Thoughtfully, life is not a race. There is no prize for reaching the finish line first. Flowers bloom in different seasons. Stars appear at different times. The ocean never rushes its waves. Nature has never been in a hurry,
Yet everything arrives exactly when it's meant to. So why are you rushing your own story? Your timeline doesn't need to look like anyone else's. Your dreams don't need anyone's permission. Your healing doesn't need to impress people. The only person you truly need to become proud of is the person looking back at you in the mirror. One day, years from now, you'll wake up and realize something beautiful. You no longer chase people who don't value you. You no longer apologize for existing. You no longer measure your worth by someone's attention. Instead, you protect your peace. You celebrate your progress. You speak kindly to yourself. You choose relationships that feel safe. You stop surviving and finally begin living. Warmly, that is what self-love looks like. It isn't loud. It isn't selfish. It isn't perfection. It's choosing yourself again and again, especially on the days when it's hardest. Gentle smile. Remember this whenever life becomes overwhelming. You don't need to become someone else to deserve love. You don't need a perfect body, a perfect career, a perfect past, or a perfect future. You are already worthy of kindness. You are already worthy of respect. You are already worthy of peace. Not because of what you've achieved, but because you are human. Firmly, protect your heart, protect your energy, protect your dreams. Not everyone deserves unlimited access to your mind, your time, or your peace. Saying no doesn't make you a bad person. Resting doesn't make you lazy. Choosing yourself doesn't make you selfish. It makes you emotionally healthy. And whenever you forget your worth, come back to this simple truth. The longest relationship you'll ever have is the one with yourself. Make it a beautiful one. Speak gently to yourself. Celebrate small victories. Forgive your mistakes. Laugh more. Rest without guilt. Dream without fear. Love yourself with the same patience, the same compassion, and the same loyalty that you so freely give to everyone else. Before we say goodbye, I want to leave you with one final thought. Every morning you wake up, you are given another chance to grow, another chance to forgive yourself, another chance to choose courage over fear, another chance to become the person you've always needed. Don't waste that chance trying to become someone you're not. Spend it becoming more of who you truly are. Because the most important love story of your life will never begin with someone else. It begins the day you finally look in the mirror, smile with complete honesty, and quietly say, I am enough. I have always been enough, and I will never abandon myself again. Thank you so much for spending these precious moments with me today. If this podcast touched your heart and helped you learn advanced English at the same time, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs these words today, and subscribe to Learn English with Ramya for more inspiring English podcast episodes. Until next time, take care of your mind, take care of your heart, and most importantly, never stop choosing yourself. Goodbye, and have a beautiful day.